Time has gone 5 minutes after the hour, 6 o'clock, and it's a very good evening to you. Welcome to our broadcast that is brought to you courtesy of Government Communication and Information System, the GCIS, alongside the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. My name is Karabalance. Glad to be in your company this evening as we're going to be spending time for the next coming hour, and we're going to be dealing with issues that you probably have been thinking about and you're wanting answers to, and you did not know where to go. But you don't have to worry about it because we've got all the answers here. We've got all the people that we need to answer those questions that you might be having. Stogolo sa bapedile matebele ke nna yo Karabolans ke thabela go ba le wena motheletši mo kgatšong ya rena ya bošegong bja legono yona o itlišetšwa ke ba ga Government Communication and Information System, the GCIS, mmogo le kgoro ya toka le tšweletšopele ya molaotheo, the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. One of our partners also being the National Prosecuting Authority, by the way, and we'd like to thank him for having partnered with us. Thank you so much to all the radio stations across the country who are joining us by way of satellite, and we really appreciate your being partners with us. Now, this is another episode of Let's Talk Justice, Live Your Rights show that happens every Thursday, and lots of people are looking forward to this show every week, and we're quite excited. This is the second part, though, of a show that we had a couple of weeks ago, if not mistaken, 2 months ago or so, or just close to 2 months ago, and we were dealing with maintenance then. And we've just picked up that between then and now, all the shows in between, even though we were not talking about maintenance, but we've picked up that people were calling in with issues of maintenance, and then we sat down and we thought to ourselves, look, what are we going to do with this? Because we can't really ignore them. And we've decided, backed by popular demand, basically, that's what's happening. So we're going to be dealing with maintenance again. So for no, that show it's happening again. You know what we missed at the last time. It's happening again. You are more than welcome to speak to us in any language of your choice. You can do that as well. I'll be very, very happy. You know, let's see how my tongue can take the exercise. Last week it did that, and this week around we're probably going to have another tongue exercise, talking in different languages. And I mean, that's what government is all about. You know, we need to embrace the diversity that South Africa has. Joining us in the studio from the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development, he's back by popular demand as well. In fact, he promised me the last time that he's going to be back, and he is back with a big smile. And when he walked through the door, he just smiled at me. That smile was basically saying, I told you I'm going to be back. I'm talking about Advocate Nechisaulu Muraro, and he's in the Maintenance and National Complaints Manager in that department, or that unit at the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. But hey, Bra Paul said to Nechisaulu that, hey, listen, next time when you're going in to do that program, your maintenance, let me come with you. I got a couple of things that I can share with you that you probably missed out the last time. And I'm talking about Mr. Paul Mtimunye, and he's the Director for Legal Services at the Justice and Constitutional Development. Kompumalanga. The N4 traveled quite the N4 for a couple of hours coming through here. Indeed. Gentlemen, let me say good evening to you and welcome to the show.
Good evening, and thank you so much for having us on your show.
There you go.
Thank you so much.
Advocate.
Thanks, Karabo, for having me again here just to come and share with you the new developments with regard to our maintenance system.
There you have it, new developments. We're looking forward to be hearing those. Right, if you want to be in touch with us this evening, it's all very easy, really. You can use our toll-free number. That's a number that you're not going to be paying a single cent if you use it. In fact, if you're using your telecom line, there's not going to be cost attached to that. 0800 142 446. 0800 142 446. That is our toll-free number this evening. Issues some maintenance. All right, and if you want to hook us up on social media, you're more than welcome to do that as well. Let's talk about Twitter. So if you're a Twitter person, you can hook us up. Our Twitter handle is at DOJCD_ZA, DOJCD_ZA, and otherwise you can hook us up by way of Facebook being the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. There we go. All right, we've set it all. We can now kick off. I've got one producer this evening who's doing an absolutely wonderful job, and he'll be taking some of your calls. Gentlemen, let's start here. For those who've missed out on the last show that we had, Bra Paul, we spoke about maintenance and about phone, about Norman. We've missed out on that. So for some new guys that are coming in now into the show, Let's start with the basics like we always do. The whole thing you explain what maintenance is. Or as we go on Kasho, but a different explanation or a different understanding, we should all be on the same page. Let's start with you, Prabal.
Yes, thank you, Karabo, and good evening to our listeners out there in the various community radio stations. To start off with the issue of maintenance, as you would know, that maintenance is about providing for the upbringing, for the support, for the development, educationally or otherwise, of our offspring, being our children. In terms of the law, the children are those that are between the age of 1 up to 18. But insofar as maintenance is concerned, a child would obviously be a child up to the age of 18. But when maintenance is concerned, that child has to be supported until he or she is self-supporting. And what are we referring to in terms of support? We're referring to the provision of food for the child, education, clothing, and extramural activities, including healthcare, meaning access to healthcare services, medical aid, and be taken to the necessary healthcare institution when the need arises for that particular child. In the main, maintenance covers those basic needs of the child that I've referred to.
All right, so we're talking about basic needs.
Basic need, indeed.
All right, so the extravagant needs, one can say. What about those? Things like body. You probably find maybe some parents, but they try their best to cater for the children and to really provide for the children, and they can afford so much of a particular thing. Say, for instance, I'll give you an example. Maybe they can afford shoes settling below this price and that sort of thing. But a lot of the other parties say, no, my kid is not going to wear such things. One settling above that. How do we deal with that type of demand?
That type of a demand, it depends also on the parent who's capable to meet that particular demand.
Right.
The basic that would actually make that particular child to survive, to access life ordinarily. So those extravagant and expensive needs, those who can actually classify them as wants,
right,
and not needs. So we classify needs as those that are basic. But whenever a person requires something beyond what the parents can afford, that obviously cannot really be acceded to, because these needs are to be provided according to the level of income of those particular parents. Basically, that is what is the cardinal point.
Mm-hmm. I'm hearing you talking about parents, and you've put it in a plural form. Just now shortly, because once you put it in plural form, it gives me another picture in terms of what maintenance could be, and a lot of people are not exposed to that. Advocate Malalo and I have spoken about this last week. Maybe you should jump in on this one, Advocate Malalo, in terms of it sounds like there are benchmarks, and things are not. They're not thumb-sucked, how do we go about maintaining our children? Maybe let's talk about what really happens in court when both parties are sitting there and we're trying to establish how to go about, maintaining the children. Maybe just paint a picture for us, for those who don't even know, maybe they've never been exposed to this, so that we can just get a clear picture of what really happens when you get to court. Advocate Malalo.
All right. Oh, thanks, Karabo. You'll remember when an applicant brings an application to court, the maintenance officer has to do an investigation with regard to that matter that is brought before him. By investigation, we means that he is going to what we refer it as mediation.
Right.
Both parties will be before him. Then he will have an application that is brought by the applicant before him. Mm-hmm. And looking in that application, he will also consider the means of the other party, the respondent, the one that needs to pay maintenance. And then he'll try to negotiate. This is the application that has been brought of an amount. Let's say, just give an example. The applicant is looking for 1,000 rand for a maintenance for a child. and the respondent is earning roughly 3,000 rand. The maintenance officer on doing the investigation, he will also consider whether the respondent is going to afford this amount that has been applied by the applicant. So looking into his income and as well as all the other extra incomes that he earns each and every month. But it does not mean that 1,000 rand that has been applied by the applicant, she's going to get that, because he's going to look into other expenses that has been that might be incurred by the respondent as well. So this is how the mediation or the investigation by the maintenance officer
could happen.
Could happen.
Part of it. I mean, there's more.
Yeah, there's more
Yeah.
of issues that will be considered when considering the application by the applicant.
And we'll definitely deal with some of those. But 0800 142 446, 0800 142 446. Let's go to Centurion in GP. I'm going to open the telephone lines a bit quicker this time, Dilman, because it's quite a popular show, this one, and I'd like to get as many people to call in as possible. 0800 142 446. Paul, you're calling from Centurion. Would you like to speak to Bra Paul as well? Paul?
Hi.
Hi, Paul.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, and you?
No, I'm good, thanks. I just want to find out, I've been paying maintenance now for about 5, 6, 7 years. There was a court order application made against me for maintenance. I don't have any of the paperwork or so on. I want to find out until what age do my children have to be before I can stop paying the maintenance.
All right. Paul, thank you so much for calling in. What radio station are you listening from?
Say again?
What radio station are you listening from, Paul?
Impact.
Thank you so much, Paul.
Impact 106.
There we go. Thank you so much, Paul, and thank you so much to Impact Radio, your Christian alternative in Pretoria. We'd like to thank you guys as well. 17 after 6, 0800 142 446. That's 0800 142 446 if you want to chat to my guests in the evening, in the studio rather. And we're dealing about issues of maintenance. This is a show backed by popular demand, and we've listened to your call. We've listened to your pleads of bringing the show back, and we've done absolutely that. So we'd like you to be in touch with us with any questions that you might be having with regards to maintenance issues. Okay, it's a very interesting question that Paul has in terms of and we've touched a little bit on it, but I wanted to bring it back, and I'm glad Paul has called in. Up until one time, do we have to pay for do we pay maintenance? But now, can you go extend that question and ask you to say, look, you've mentioned partly until the child is self-supporting. I get it. Now, what if they get to an age or above 18 and look, I mean, they can look for a job and they're just not doing it. But let's Arabia, Paul, and then we'll jump to the one I'm asking. So up until what age? And then what happens after that age if the child is still not, say, getting a job and that type of thing? Maybe not because jobs are scarce, but maybe because they're lazy. Let's just put it that way.
No, thank you so much for that question, and Paul out there. We did, of course, touch a little bit on it, but safe to indicate that the duration or the age of maintenance, it's in terms of our law, it's up to when the child is self-supporting, meaning even if a child is beyond 18 years and that child still needs perhaps to go through tertiary education. And some of the children, of course, it could be that that particular child has an ailment or a disability of some sort. He's unable to really accomplish, his educational aspects in time. That is able to even access job opportunities. That child might even be going beyond certain age. Right. So those situations are looked at individually. Perhaps to answer your question directly is that there's no cut-off age for a child to access maintenance in our South African law. Right. But nonetheless, if that particular child has gone through the basic achievements. Let me give an example where a child would have gone through tertiary, obtained the necessary qualifications, and there's actually, there are job opportunities out there, and this particular child is not applying for those particular opportunities. So it would be upon that particular child to prove that he still requires maintenance and is unable to work or is unable to be hired, and show, some form of documentation that suggests that I've been trying to look for employment in company A, company B. I've tried to email this and that to prove that he's unable to get employment. But if a person, out of his own choice, decides that he would just sit home after having qualified with all the capabilities, educationally or otherwise, but still refuses to go, not even a court would be able to accede to that kind of a order for a continued maintenance for that particular child.
Mr. Mtimiyo, these are realities that will pay.
Very true.
Somebody might be asking, but why do you have to ask questions, like that, for instance? But you do have, grown-up children. They're very stressful also in families, because but they're still waiting for somebody. We have cases like that, and hence I'm asking that type of question.
Very true,
Mr. Mtimu.
Very true.
We need to ascertain what happens when situations are like that. Okay, but now let's talk about the mediation processes. Advocate Moraro spoke about. We're going to go back to that one now here. But maybe before we do that, let me take a caller quickly. Let's go to Jane first. And this is where my great-grandfather was born. Ko Jan first. Jan first. Tabo ho le kae na?
Ona le kae?
Rona wa no tlo bolela Sepedi sa gešo.
Ke tlo bolela Sepedi.
A re kwa ga gore wena o re?
Nna ke na le bothata.
Ke
na le ngwana le motho. Ke na le ngwana le motho ke ile ka misa maintenance last year ka November. Ga ke misa maintenance last year November ba mpha pampiri gore ke isega gabo. Ka isa ke fihla ka go tsa sona ga ina ke sesia. Ai saena mola ke mkana ba re butse maputa ba butse rana o kae ba ra gona outside count. Ba rona ni tia. A re fa date ba re ke court ka February ka di 6. Ra ya court ka February ka di 6 le na fihla. A fihla ke mkana mola maintenance a botsa motho re bolela le ena a motho ge ngwana e swa a mo fa account number ra patela DNA test. Ene ra bolela gona mola wa go taba re tsoma ke ting ampitsa a re tla re boledisana ngwana ke wa ka nna ka se kgono patela DNA test ke se ba gore ngwana ke wa ka mo se ka re go ira banga gore ngwana se wa gona a re nna be ke kgopela gore ngwana ke mo support ke to ya ka ngwala affidavit ka ngwala ka bolela gore ngwana ke go mo supporta ke go mo rekela diaparo ka mo tsenya sekolo ka mo patela cash ka mo patela le transport diaparo ke go mo rekela ka June le ka December go bile jwalo go bile jwalo o rile jwalo go fela ka June ga sa fela sa ria ka mogolo ke boela ka kwa nnebo ke fihla ke ba tlhalosetsa ke re nna motho a ka ile re le mathomong ke ka ba tlhalosetsa ka tete ba re filona gore re bo ka yona ba botsa re nna le motho le re boledisana 1 2 3 ke mokana ba re ga go tla ba o bo ka boela ka fihla ka ba botsa ka di 9 tsa June ba mpha lengwalo gape ba re ke le isega gabo ile se lengwalo le la ka kwa gabo a ke fihla gabo go di go na le mama ga ke le maphodisa ha re fihla re go ke mama ga a bolela ka mokganya kang a gana le go saena lengwalo le la maphodisa ngwala mo lengwalong gore re go di mmago ga no saena ba re fitse ya di 14 ya mantaga ona o fitileng ka tsela ka ya ka khote nna ka mantaga wa di 14 ba re filego ke na ba re mo motho ba le gona a ke fihla ka khote ke go itse mothola se gona ke batswana ka mola ke ba tlhalosetsa ba mpotsa ge le gore motho ga le outside country ba gona ka mokgo ba ka idira go nna ke tlamile gore ke mo trace ke tsebo rana o tlaneng go dira ga jwang and motho ke mthelo gore o dula ntshela ntoseng ka ga mphahlele.
Okay, I think I'm getting the gist of what in this matter. that the whole thing going from pillar to post, and I can trace it back to Ishiawari. There was an outside court settlement, if I can say that. And once you have that type of thing, there might be problems, and probably will jump into that. Advocate Malalu, you'll help me on that. But Dabo, I've heard what you're saying. Let's give other listeners an opportunity to call in, but we'll definitely dissect your question quickly. All right, let's go to Brown Fisher, and we're speaking to Ikageng. Ikageng, good evening to you.
Hello.
Hi, Ikageng. Tlo kgopela re bolelle gore you maga.
Okay.
Puso ha o re.
So sorry, if only mabitso a motho ne. And then o sa tsebo ma sebetsang teng le kgona thusa.
Okay, all right, we'll answer that. Thank you so much, Ikageng.
Okay, thank you.
All right, 0800 142 446, 0800 142 446. Otherwise, Twitter, DOJCD_ZA, or you can hook us up on Facebook at the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. That's where you can find us on Facebook.
Siyabonga umbuzo vela kusisikarabo. Uma lo baba uSistebuho, sorry. uSistebuho. Uma lo baba esebenza ngaphandle like eNamibia, kufanele sazi nje kahle hle ukuthi uyasebenza lapho noma uyaya aphinde futhi abuyena nakahlala khona ngaliya unelungelo lokuthi uye khona le ku maintenance court ukhulume no maintenance officer bese uyasho ukuthi uhlala le permanently noma uya ngomsebenzi uphinda abuyena futhi bazokwenza le application esibiza ukuthi i-reciprocal enforcement of maintenance nangabe uhlala le usebenza permanently eNamibia. Leyo process leyo noma leyo application leyo ke iyenziwa lapha ecourt bese ithunyelwa kwa Department of Justice. Department of Justice ithumele le eNamibia la lo baba asebenza khona basithathele imininingwane yakhe yonke ama details wakhe wonke ukuthi usebenza kuphi uhola malini bese bayiphindisele futhi ngapha eSouth Africa izokwenziwa i-permanent order. Siqala siyenze lento esibiza ukuthi provisional order ngoba lo muntu ungaphandle kweSouth Africa bese ngaleke baya iconfirma bayasho ukuthi lo muntu sinaye ningamenzela iorder leyo bese nayibuya la ecourt futhi bayakubiza baya confirm ukuthi lo muntu usebenza le order ke izoba iorder yemali engaka njengaloku umntwana idingo zomntwana zingakhona so iyakhonakala ukuthi ungasizakala noma umuntu esebenza ngaphandle kodwa uma ngabe uyaya phinde futhi abuye kubalulekile ukuthi ubazise futhi ikhodo uma ukuthi nangabe uyafika kukhishwe futhi ama summons ayoseviwa kuye lo make ekhaya ukuthi lo bhuti nakafika azibonakalise enkantolo.
Okay. Bamtimunye, there's a problem, and maybe it's just me, but I'm suspecting there's a problem with a lot of outside court agreements because they might be put in practice for the first couple of months, but it looks like most of the time they fall away, and somebody finds themselves back at square one again. Your advice with regards to that, maybe advocate jump into that one. Your advice when it comes to these outside court agreements and, look, man, I mean, like you've heard now, look, I mean, maintainer, so you don't have the problems that are coming with that type of agreement.
Yeah. Karabo, with regard to the outside court settlement, it's the challenge is that it's not enforceable in the court of law.
Right.
So they settle outside, and when they come to us now, it's no longer complying with that settlement order that they've agreed. So it becomes a challenge for us to enforce that court. So my advice that I can give it to her, rather avoid having that settlement because there is a history of him not honoring that order or honoring that settlement that they've agreed upon. So rather make it a court order. That is the safest way because if he doesn't comply with that court order, then we are able to then enforce that court order through our court system.
Okay. There was an issue that was spoken about which I wanted to actually tap on. Issue yeah, a figure that's been set by the person that's going in to apply for maintenance. For instance, I heard something like Moto Aya Arkenyaka Bokana. You understand what I mean? So we're going to touch on that. Just give it a thought a little bit. While you guys are doing that, let me take a caller quickly. KZN is in the house this evening. And Usisbongi we was him singer. Sisbongi? Sisbongi we?
Yebo,
Kunjani ma?
siyaphila njani?
Ngiyaphila. Uthini umbuzo wakho?
Yebo, ngisacela ukubuza ngalabantwana abangena abazali sidalo ke laba ukuthi bengasizakala kanjani ngoba ngapha eMsinga kunenhlangano esiza kune-orphanage esiza abantwana abangena abazali. Manje labo bantwana kukhona abanye abathathwe abama-street kids abangenayo i-background ingatholakala abantu abazali babo ukuthi bona bengasizakala kanjani.
Ngiyabonga sisibongiwe. All right, let's go to Verulam in the KZN area still, and we're chatting to Tutukani. Tutukani? Good evening to you, Tutukani.
Yebo njani?
Kunjani baba?
Ngiyaphila.
Ngiyaphila. Umbuzo wakho uthini? Tutukani, umbuzo wakho uthini? Fill the phone. Chajana mapetri bafethu. 6:30 it is. 0800 142 446 0800 142 446. I'd like to hear from Tutugan again. If you can get a hold of him, I'd really appreciate it. All right, let's. Okay, this one, yeah, Bongiwe. I'm not sure.
Yeah, we can. We
Okay,
corner with that.
Yeah, let's.
Yeah, kodwa mhlawumbe ngaphambi kwasingene kule kabongiwa ake sibuyele kule kaKarabo ngoba uKarabo uthe kunomuntu afuna ukummaintainisa noma ukumondlisa uTebuho. Kodwa ke manje uTebuho inkinga yakhe kuba ukuthi lo muntu akazi ukuthi usebenza kuphi. Manje ikhotho ingamnceda yini ukuthi athole lo muntu nama details walo muntu angamazi kodwa amazi yena ukuthi ubaba lengane yakhe. Yeah ke ngithi ke ngaleso kuleyo situation efana naleyo sis ikaheng ungakhona ukuthi uye ngale ngasekhotho engakuwe leohlala ngakuyo. Kunabantu esibabiza ukuthi ama maintenance investigators. Labo bantu ke emva kuba sozibonakalise phambi kwe maintenance officer umbikele ukuthi wena ufuna ukondlisa ubaba wengane neindleko zakhona sewuzibekile nemfanelo esidinga ukuthi uze nazo sezikhona. Ngakuye lapho yamchazela ukuthi okusemqoka awazi ukuthi lo baba uhlala kuphi noma usebenza kuphi. Uzokusiza ke lo maintenance investigator yena uzongena kuma system akhona eminyangweni wejustice bese athola imininingwane yalapho lo baba asebenza khona. Nawazi ama date of birth wakhe kuzosiza lokho namagama wakhe ngokuphelele lokho kungenza ukuthi ukumthola kwakhe kube lula kakhulu.
All right, that's you were just explaining there in terms of the whole tracing issue. Just for the interest of those who are not speaking the language of isiZulu or any of the Nguni or the Sotho languages, that's basically what Ms. Mtumi was talking about, the whole tracing issue. But maybe to make him understand a little bit more, Babu Mtimuyo, whose responsibility is it to trace? Is it the responsibility of the state, or is it the responsibility of the person that's lodging the maintenance complaint?
It's initially it's the responsibility of the person that is lodging a complaint, because he has to present us with the details, the address, the work address, the physical address of the person, who is responsible to pay maintenance. But because we know that people move from one place to another, right, sometimes it becomes difficult for the applicant to bring those particulars. So the Department of Justice has taken that on its strides to assist the applicants to trace those particulars, and that's free. It doesn't require any payment from the applicant.
So if people come and they say, no, you have to pay so much, you must just know they...
You must say no, because you are not supposed to pay any cent.
Yeah, you must. People are finding opportunities in with very weird and wrong ways.
Very true, very true.
0800 142 446. Should I tell you let me take D first. Let me take D first from Pretoria. Good evening to you, D. Hello, D. Okay, D is gone. Let's speak to Tutugani from Verulam.
Yebo njani?
Ngiyaphila, uyichargile phone yakho Tutugani?
Yebo ngiyithathile ngazi kungayimile yini.
Awuzwe umbuzo wakho thini?
Yebo, ekuthi mina ngine case la yokuthi u-ex-wife wami sa-divorce ngo-2011 and imina owayidropha amaphepha e-maintenance. And then iphuthe ngalenza futhi from ingane one is ngathi ngizokhipha 1,500 a month, which I think it was wawulungele ngaleso sikhathi. Kodwa ngase ngenza iphutha lokuthi uma ingane isiqala isikole ngizoqhubeka ngikhokhe lo 1,500 nama school fees ne-medical aid konke nje kukhokhwa yimina. Kodwa ngangiqonde mina ukuthi uma ingane isiqala isikole lo 1,500 sesowusherisha naye umama wengane. So uyanqaba-ke manje ukuthi siwusherise lo 1,500. So I'm ending up paying 3,200 ama-school fees, medical aid, plus nalo 1,500. So ngifakile isicelo enkantolo.
I think Tutugani is in an area where network could be giving a problem. But I'm sure But now, here's an issue, man, that I would like us to talk about, really. It sounds like he did what I want to call, and really got another last time, Advocate Molalo, issue voluntary maintenance. Is there such a thing, voluntary maintenance, where somebody goes and say, look, I've got a child, I want to maintain my child, and this is, I can afford so much. You can bring the other party, but I'm saying I'm coming forth. So let's start there. Is that type of thing acceptable in our courts?
That is very acceptable, Karabo. I think also we need to encourage parents to take that kind of an initiative, because it makes our work, as justice, as the courts, very simple. I think that particular parent says, I want to be responsible for the upbringing of my child. I don't want anybody or the court to come and tell me that I want to maintain my child. And that is something that we really encourage. But obviously, if that person voluntarily comes forward, he can choose to open a file, which we can do. We can open a file in court, register him, and make him continue to pay into that particular account of a beneficiary. Okay. Or he might decide to say, no, I want to do it, outside the court, because we are staying together. I'm not far from where the child is. We don't have really problems in terms of relations, contacts, and what have you. If the mother feels comfortable with it, I can still do that, outside. But obviously, when it comes to a situation where this person then renege from continuing to pay, then the court would come to look into that and make a order of court, so that this person then continue to pay into the court or towards the account of the beneficiary.
All right. 0800 142 446. Before I lose let's take D quickly and all right, cool stuff. I've been told that we've got a Facebook message that's come through, and I'll look at those just shortly. But let's take D quickly. D calling all the way, here in Pretoria. Good evening to you, D.
Good evening. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you so much for listening through. What's your question?
If there's a legal agreement with maintenance and one of the parents lose their jobs, is it that parent's responsibility to go to the different institutions of the child to make arrangements? Do you go back to court? How do you handle a situation like that?
All right, who loses the job now? Is it the person that's paying maintenance or the complainant?
It's the person that's paying the maintenance.
100%. Thank you so much, D.
Thank you.
0800 142 446 has gone 22 before 7 o'clock. We're going to go back to Tugana's question, but I thought let's deal that quickly because it's it will be a quicker one. So whose responsibility is it, and how does it work? What should be done if I'm paying maintenance and I happen to lose my job? What needs to happen then? What are the processes there?
Okay. In that situation, the respondent needs to bring an application for is either discharge for that order.
The respondent being the person
being
who's paying
being the person who's paying maintenance.
Right.
Then the court will then have to have an inquiry as the reason why they have to discharge that court order. It might be in the situation, for an example, the person is still suitable he can get an employment in future. The court might decide to suspend that court order, not necessarily to discharge the order.
But to suspend it.
To suspend it, pending if he can get an employment maybe tomorrow or in the next few months. So then the court that court order will then kickstart again. So it's the responsibility of the person who's paying to inform the court, because now if he doesn't inform the court, he will incur the arrears,
right,
which he will be liable to pay because he did not inform the court that he doesn't have the means to pay that maintenance.
All right. Now, are the timelines set to a suspension of that maintenance? For instance, if it's suspended, would they say we're going to suspend it for 6 months? In 6 months, you must have a job. Which, I would have a problem with that because you never know when you're going to get the job.
No, it can be suspended until such time that you get an employment. Then when you get an employment, it's a duty to inform the court that you are now working.
But it doesn't come with timelines. It doesn't come with I almost want to say deadline.
Yeah.
We're so deadline driven, it's not funny. But it doesn't say you have to get it in 6 months, does it?
It doesn't say that you should get it in 6 months or so, because like you correctly indicated, you would not know, how soon will that particular person get employment.
Yeah.
But it is incumbent of that particular person to immediately he finds employment to come back to court to say, now I'm employed and this is how much, this is the amount that I'm receiving now. I'm able to continue, or I can contribute so much towards the maintenance of the child. Let's say he was paying 1,500,
right, but
because he was actually working in a particular job that enable him to pay that amount. Now it happens that he gets an employment that is actually paying lesser than than before. He can then come back to court to say, now I got an employment, but then now I'll only be able to pay so much,
right,
because I got the employment that now pays a little than what I used to get.
All right. 0800 142 446. I've got a caller all the way from Postmansburg or Postmansburg, depending on which side of the fence you are in. Let's take this caller quickly. It's a very good evening to you. Elgarra.
Yeah, my question based on Motavia maintenance. What if you maintain ngwana for 2 years and after 2 years wa mama ga go declare gore is not my biological child a gona le possibility ya gore mmago ngwana a mpusetse tšhelete ntse ke maintain ngwana ka yone 2 years wa ba gore o declare gore ngwana ga se wa me after 2 years nanti ke itse gore ke ngwana me wa biologically mara ene go ya ka ene ga se wa me potso ya bobedi ke a motho wa rre o kgona go tshwarisetsa motho wa me maintenance na ba lemoga if wa kgonagala I think as I did it rona mo Northern Cape, because ke ne ka utlwa go Gauteng mongwe a tumile a kgonne go tshwarisetsa mosadi wa go maintenance mara kwa ta go dira a ka go rona mo dikhotong tsa rona a itenta ba gore monna a tshwarisetse mosadi maintenance na ene engwe ya boraro ke tlo go botsa potseng a go mo molaong gore mosadi a ye go ntshwarisa go court mara company e betšwa e ganisha tšhelete yaka without consulting me nna a ke kopana le payslip ke clear payslip yaka e re go ganishile 1.5 a ke re ke nna ke itse budget yaka gore budget yaka e tsamaya maybe nna ke afford go patala 500 maintenance or 1,000 rand mara ke bona go ganishile 1.5 until I believe go una because by the without consulting the owner of the money.
Tabs, you know what? Thank you so much for having called in. You've got very, very interesting questions. And we're going to deal with them. Thank you so much, Tabiso.
Thank you, bro.
17 before 7 0800 142 446. Very interesting questions.
Very interesting ones indeed.
Especially this one, the 2-year period where, you're doing your thing and you're thinking, Rashab, the child's going to grow one day, I'm going to be proud. And then bam, they come with, the child is not yours. So you've been paying maintenance for 2 years now for this child, and then you get told it's not yours. Can you get your money back? Can you get everything that you've spent for the child back? Should you go to court and lodge that complaint?
In fact, that is the different aspect of law. It's what we call civil law, where then you are able to sue to recoup whatever expenses you have expended towards the upbringing of the child, right, when you always believe that it is your child. Unfortunately, the Maintenance Act doesn't make provision for refund in those circumstances. The reason why is because when you first came to the maintenance court, you both believed that was your child, and therefore the order was made under that
the information that
that it was given, and you accepted, right, that it was your child. But then now what you can do, you can then get some advice out there and then proceed civilly,
right,
whether you'll be able to recoup the monies that you've expended for that particular child. But that is in terms of the civil procedure that would then instruct your own attorney. He will or she will weigh the facts and see if he can institute, the claim against the woman. And of course, it will also depend whether that woman has the money, because you may go that route only to find that that particular money has been used up. This particular woman is not working or is unable to pay it back. So you would have expended an extra money to sue civilly, yet that particular order won't really be realized. So you stand in the balance.
All right, 14 minutes just before 7 o'clock. Okay, Advocate Malalo, jump in on this one. Men lodging claims. I agree, we know this practice as one that's been done by ladies. But here's a question, are men able to do this? Are men able to go forth and say, look, against our maintenance or against, my partner?
Yes, they are very welcome to come to our office and bring an application. Remember, you'll find a situation where the father is having a custody of the child and is taking care of the child, staying with the child, and he is entitled to bring an application against the mother. And the court order can be made. It's just unfortunate men are not coming forward and bring those applications before us. They are very much minimal, wherein you'll find an application being brought by the fathers. So we encourage them that they are also welcome to bring those kind of applications.
So it can be done.
It can
yes.
Just
Karabo ngangena futhi ngisho ukuthi amish namhlanje nje because of equal opportunities, uthola ukuthi esikhathi ekhaya umama uthola imali endlula kababa, uyayibona leyo nto leyo. Manje ke on those basis, of course, ubaba uthola ukuthi yena uthola encane, ubaba angeza athi man unkosikazi uthola imali engaphezulu kweyami, bengicela ukuthi azame unginceda ngikhulise labantwana nami ngondle. Njengaloku bamlalo washo ukuthi inkinga thina abobaba kunale stigma lesokuthi nangizovela phambi kwenkantolo ngithi ngicela i-maintenance kumama, abantu bazongihleka. Kanti manje umuntu kufanele angasabheki ukuthi uzohlekwa, abheke ekutheni ukuthi ingane ikhuliseke kahle, yondlakale, nokuthi umama abe nethuba nayo lokuthi abe nesandla ekukhuliseni ingane yakhe.
Yeah, no chance like Utrela. I mean, 1,000 rand. Okay, all right. Let me not go there. Advocate Milan is looking at this like, hey, this one on Alita, this evening, Let's go to Northwest quickly. Go with the and we're chatting to William. William, good evening to you. Hey, William.
Hello, guys.
Ronald guy, William.
Okay.
Yeah. What's our Yeah.
Ke batla go botsa o ntse maintain ngwana sentle ne?
Yeah.
Ha ntse maintain ngwana sentle yana ma go wa nyana. Fa se tsa go nyana ba change ngwana surname without your consent. Ha khanyalo e le yalo ya re nka go ntato jetse mmeo o monyetse ka ngwana e gapile le namane go tla itama maikarabelo go tla ka ngwana o.
Okay. Mawis bambia mo koning man. You know. All right, we'll tayaraba potso ha Willie. So yeah, you see, like we said before the show, I did mention what it's going to take a different toll this evening, and it is.
Absolutely.
You know, it is. Look, I mean, give the issue that we touched on, you and I, Linda de Moraro, outside before the show, issues, tradition coming into the picture. And here it is now, you know. Or the child, or he's been maintaining the child, and then the mother gets married to somebody else. But now here's an issue of concern to him. The issue of the surname without his consent. So, to wrap it up, Erikere, how does what is the legislation, or what is the law saying with regards to issues such tradition or custom, or when they come into the picture? You know, will one stop paying maintenance because the one name ya? What happens in a situation like that? Advocate Manaro?
Okay. No, the issue of the surname doesn't matter as long as the mother can prove that this is the biological parent of the child. So you have to contribute. There are so many cases out there. You will find the kids are not using the surname of their biological fathers,
right,
but they are maintaining those kids. So the issue of surname is irrelevant when it comes to the application of maintenance. What we look into is that, is he the real biological parent of the child?
Okay.
So that is where we stop. And if you are then the duty that is, you have got a duty to maintain that particular child.
Yeah, Shakespeare said it well, a rose can still smell as sweet even if it's called by any other name.
Mhlawumbe singabuza ukuthi bamchange surname kwa Home Affairs na, or bamchange ngoba uhlala nalo baba.
No, it sounds like Home Affairs because there's a process of marriage that took part. I want to assume that's how it is.
Yeah, kodwa I guess assume ukuthi nangaba change Home Affairs, ubaba unalo ilungelo lokuyohlola iHome Affairs ukuthi kuchange kanjani ngoba no sign ngoba I want to believe ukuthi initially this child got a surname of this man, or not unless he or got the surname was registered in the surname of the mother. Probably then when the new partner came in, and then maybe they changed to the new partner. Maybe that could be the reason. But nonetheless, it would have not been possible for changing his surname, at Home Affairs without his knowledge.
Yeah. Okay. Very quickly before I take another caller, Advocate Manalo. So basically, what we're saying is, if the child's surname was changed, but the child had the mother's surname, there's very little the guy can do because anyway he was not called by this guy's surname.
Exactly.
But if, say, for instance, the mother was married to this gentleman, had a child, the child got the surname the guy, and then all of a sudden the surname changes to the new guy, that he can do something about. Is that what we're saying?
Yes, he can do something about that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because then there should be an adoption process.
Right,
yeah.
right.
But then now, even during the adoption process, he has to be informed. He has to be cited as a party to say before the child is adopted, so that he is actually translated in surname.
Yeah.
Then you've got to indicate whether you allow it or not.
All right,
so he can do something about it.
I think it's pretty clear. William, thank you so much for your call. Let's go to El Dorado Park. We're chatting to Auntie May. Hi, Auntie May.
Yes.
Good evening to you. What is your question?
Hello.
Yes, Auntie May, I'm listening to you. What is your question?
Evening. I just wanted to ask some advice.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, my question is, can you hear me?
We can hear you. We're listening to you.
Yes. I just wanted to ask advice.
Uh-huh.
My son has a child, right? And he's maintaining the child. The baby's still small. My grandson. But not previous. Our father doesn't want him to see the child. And you know what happened? But every week, we must give them $350.
And I said to my son, why don't you go to the court, to the maintenance court, because if you don't support the child, then you can be in trouble by the maintenance court. But then when we said to the girl's father, now if that is the way you want to work, then we'll go to court rather. But the father said, if we go to court, then you won't see the child. But he needs every week at 350. So can you give me advice? What must my grandson do now? Because he's like found and suicidal. Because then they chase him away. But every week they need a 350, and he's earning 600 a week. So we have to give the other money. Can you give me advice what to do?
All right. Auntie May, thank you so much for your call, all the way from El Dorado Park. Presume you're listening to Eldo's FM. We really, really appreciate it. And you know, I must be very careful not to be emotionally attached to such. But I mean, yeah. Look, so the son is maintaining the child, okay, and then but now he's not allowed access to see the child. He wants to see this child. It sounds like it. All right, the girl's father is being approached to say, look, I mean, you know, something is not right here. It's not like we are away from the child or we're maintaining, you know, the little bit that we can have is to at least see the child. No, he doesn't want. And then they say, okay, look, we're going to go through the courts. He makes it worse. He says, okay, you go through the courts, you're not going to see the child. Gentlemen, you know, step in here.
Yeah, no, that's very unfortunate, and it's quite a difficult situation for Aunt May. But then now we can advise that there's the Children's Court Act, which provides for parental plan in the situation that Ausmay has actually painted, to say where she or the son is denied access to see the child. There's what we call family advocate in our offices in the magistrate court where you are, particularly Aunt May Angalapa, a family advocate at Johannesburg.
Right.
Yeah, she can ask to see the family advocate office, and they will be able to assist her by calling both the parties and explain to them the access rights, and if they agree, they will be able to draw what we call a parental plan,
right,
which would then indicate how access can be, because it is the right of every parent to really see the child, to access the child at certain intervals when it is possible,
right,
for that particular child to be seen. And then they will also look at the educational dispensation of the child, and they agree that perhaps they can see that child at the end of the term of schooling, or maybe on weekends or bi-monthly.
But all of those are going to be discussed.
They will be discussed.
Yeah. But just very quickly before I take another call, Bognani, be on standby. I'm going to be taking you now on air. So issue access to the child. Just very quickly, Advocate Malalo, from a legal perspective, it's not determined by whether you or is it determined by whether you maintain or it's not? Anyone has got the legal right to see the child, whether they maintain or not. Am I right or am I wrong?
Yeah, you are right. You might not have the means to maintain the child, but you still have the right to have access to your child.
Okay, what if you have the means? What if you have the means and you're not maintaining? I just want to, worst case scenario.
Yeah. Remember, when it comes to the issue of access and the issue of maintenance, it's two separate issues.
I wanted you to.
Yes,
that's exactly
because
what.
With maintenance, when you approach the court looking for access, let's say you want an access, that is the issue that they are going to have an investigation looking into those kind of whatever that you are applying for, and when it comes to issue of maintenance,
that's a different court altogether.
That's a different court altogether. Right. But then you in this situation, because now if the scenario that he indicated is also contributing maintenance on outside settlement, but then it's not an agreement that has been made before court. So it's a two separate issues that needs a separate court to deal with.
All right. Grace and Mafikeng, I'm coming to you, but let me take Mongani in Dobsonville first. Grace, Mafikeng, and after that, I'm going to be going to the Facebook and Twitter messages. So, Mongani, good evening to you.
Sikhona njani?
Siyaphila njani bongs?
Sikhona.
What is your question, sir?
Umbuzo wami baba, mayelana ngicela ukubuza ukuthi bonginomama sishadile siba nengane. And then le ngane ngayikhulisa since sizwana and then kwaba nenkinga ukuthi si-divorce. So bose-divorce ngachubeka ngisupport ingane, after that wangibambisa i-maintenance kodwa bongisupport ingane ngingenisa isikole ngizange ngingayifundisi. Ngachubeka ngibhatala le maintenance. From there waphinda wayenza iganishe futhi and i-maintenance bongiyibhatala bongingayekanga. So inkinga nginayo is because le ganishe bayenzile manje. 3,000 bayithathe emsebenzini and nginezinye ingane and yena uyasebenza, so akafuni ukunginceda mina ngibhadala 3,000 ngiyi-one and nabantwana abanye, so ngalabantwana bafuna ukuzwa next ngabo yabo. So umbuzo wami uthi angeke yena akwazi ukunginceda na sibe yi-50-50 lapha kule 3,000 na mina ngenze 1.5 naye 1.5.
All right. Hey, Dibongs, yeah, we'll touch on that. I'm glad you raised this one. It's again what we spoke about. Thank you so much, Bongani from Dobsonville. Let's take Grace from Afike in the Northwest. How's Grace?
Hello, Nika.
How's Grace?
Resting.
Yeah.
Na ke batla go botsa gore ka gore ke na le ngwana le ntate and then o ntse a maintainer. Ga sa na maintainer o tlogetse mmereko. So ga bue gore o tlogetse mmereko, nna ke re ke emetse tšhelete ke batla go kry-a tšhelete ga ke e kry-e ka ba ka tla ka founder out ko kgoto gore ao motho o na le dikgwedi tse kana a tsaire gona o na le 7 months madi a di-areas, so o tlogetse mmereko. So ko kgoto ba itse ba re ba batla address ya gage ga ba e kry-e, ga ba re ba mo founela ga arabe di-call. So ene ngwana ke ngwana moshimane o na le 15 years. So re ke batla go botsa gore ka gore ga ise a kry-e tšhelete.
All right. Okay, thank you so much, Aus Gracie. We'll definitely answer that one. It'll Romela back to the issue that we spoke about. Yeah, if that happens, go back to the court and tell them that you're not working. We'll touch on that. Let's start Kaya Bongani. Bongani got divorced, but he's been supporting the child all along. But now two things happened. Number one, right, a maintenance lodgement was done, and then apparently there's a garnishment that was done as well, and it looks like he was not even aware when it was instated that garnishment. We want to fella, one day high low nka sleepy high. Have been garnished. Problem. I'm suspecting there's a problem there. Come on, you're very quiet. This
situation. I heard what he said, but I've got a challenge because now, if the order has been made and he is aware of the order that was made, and the next thing there was a garnish, I'm not quite sure whether there was somewhere a default judgment, whether he did not pitch to court. That is where now, because he was served with the documents, he did not pitch to court, they then decided to make an order in his absence. So I'm not quite sure with that. Or it might be that the order was made and then was not complying with that court order. And then they had to include also areas that made it to be an amount of 3,000 rand. So in that situation, I did not get more of the information as to whether, when we respond to his question, is that it might be that situation happened, that he did not comply with the court order, and then they had to garnish him and include the original court order together with the areas so that it make 3,000 rand.
Okay, but now issue of garnishment. Let's quickly talk about that. Seeing that we're going to be running out of time. This is the last caller. Linz, let's. All right. So issue of garnishment. We heard it. That there was another caller who came with that issue. How does it work? I mean, is it legal to even be garnished there? I read some article about a week ago or so. Somebody was fighting some garnishment in Cape Town, and he won the court thingy. And apparently, no, it's not legal. Issue of garnishment. Who has the right to garnish you? Can you be even garnished? Is it possible to be garnished? How does it work, Advocate Molalo?
Okay, it is possible to be garnished, and it's legal. to what we call this is the attachment of emoluments. Remember when you make an order, I'll just give an example. You make an order for a person to pay maintenance, let's say an amount of 1,000 rand. This particular person doesn't honor that court order. And the only way in which we can enforce it, then we have to attach his salary so that he honor the court order, because he's not complying. Then we will go that route. We are, in terms of the Maintenance Act, allowed to do that, to attach his salary and recover that maintenance money.
Okay, but now, Bongani White dispute. Let's try to help, not necessarily help him or White dispute, but he wants to know what he can do because, he's not comfortable with this. All right, what can he then do to go and contest this or, ask questions about it?
Yes, in the situation of Ubongani, where so much has been deducted from his salary without his knowledge, probably he can go to the maintenance court. There is a provision for a variation of a maintenance order.
Right.
Meaning that he would go to the maintenance court, indicate exactly the facts that he has actually alluded to. And then the court will assess why did it come for him to pay double, because according to him, he was actually paying double. So it could be that they made this 1,500 rand. He also takes another 1,500 rand.
Okay.
And then he was not really informed.
Right.
So, and now he's got also other responsibilities according to him.
Exactly.
I think the best method is to go to court to indicate your situation, but make an application for a variation of a maintenance order, where then your facts will now be assessed given the other responsibilities. The court will look at what you currently having in terms of responsibilities and your affordability on the other side, and then they'll look at that and be able to make a new order if they find that you were actually wronged.
All right, last caller. Can I take one? Can I just take one, Linda? We're running out of time. All right, let's take two. Can I just ask for another 3 minutes? But let's be very quick on this one here. Nelisiwe from the Val. Nelisiwe from the Val. Good evening. Let's move over to Rustenburg. Let's take Mpo in Rustenburg. Mpo?
Hello.
How's Mpo guy? Putso ya how very quickly, sweet and short.
Maintenance don't we happen for o tla mmereko o mitsan reply
Okay, it's a bad line. Linda, I can't take it. It's a bad line, and we ran out of time. Unfortunately. We'll give details. We'll give phone numbers for them to follow up on that. I'm very sorry about that. But Arfetseya Grace has already came in, and we've taken the details down. Guy's been maintaining the child, and he no longer works. It's been 7 months, and people are finding out just in the middle of nowhere he doesn't work. It's going back to the issue that we spoke about. If you don't work no more, rise up and just explain that a little bit, what he should have done to avoid the situation.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that it took 7 months before she could really realize that this man is not paying. But then people are advised that immediately a respondent fails to pay, they must actually come to court so that can be investigated. The issue of Grace, she can go to court and indicate as she indicated, and the maintenance investigator, through the process of the court, will then verify from the employer whether this person was paid a lump sum and then how much was it paid to which account. So once the court is able to establish that, they may then be able to establish what we call future maintenance, so that then now out of the lump sum that was paid, and then a certain amount is taken to be able to meet the 7 months arrears as well as the future maintenance, the money that will be able to help that particular child to grow until such time that this man is able to find another employment.
All right. Okay, cool stuff. 8 minutes after 7 o'clock. Thank you so much for the additional 3 minutes that you've given us as a station. We really, really appreciate it. Advocate Bonalo, your final words before we close?
Thanks, Karabo, for giving us this opportunity just to share with members of the public the information. But unfortunately, there were a lot still that needs to be discussed. But due to time, we could not even share some of the new developments with regard to our maintenance system, recovery system.
All right. Brother Paul.
Yes, thank you so much, Karabo, and to our listeners out there. Thank you for making the show so much alive with questions. And of course, like Mulalo has indicated, it's only time that was actually not on our side. But we hopeful that next time we'll be hosted also to continue the discussions, and those questions that we were not unable to answer, please call in to our various numbers in the Department of Justice. We'll be able to respond to you.
All right. I smell something, man. I smell like there's a third part of this maintenance show coming up.
No, certainly. Look, we've not even covered the new amendments,
It smells like a third part. I'm not sure. I think something is burning. 9 minutes after 7 o'clock. All right, that's how we wrap it up. Let me apologize to all the callers that could not come through this evening. But here's a number that you can call if you want to make further follow-ups. 012-315-1512. 012-315-1512. Ke Advocate Molalo Nechisauru, and he will help you on that regard. He's the chief director of the promotion of the rights of vulnerable groups, and he can definitely hook you up with some of the answers that you might be requiring. From myself, Stolo Sabape, Little Matebele, Karabalans, let me thank my team quickly. They always throw a lady on the camera, just to make sure we smile. Let me thank you guys from the camera department, from the video department of the GCIS. I really thank you so much. This time around we had one producer. Normally we have about three, but this time around the Nernalomi one fella Kebab Mazibuke Ulinda Mazibugo, mending phones and mending the actual signal distribution and sound engineering as well. Thank you so much, Malins and Nernalidi Spectator, Babangima Sundowns, Babangima Chiefs. We're not going to mention their names. From myself, Karabalans, Stolana Sabapedil Matebele. Let's meet again next week on Thursday on our Let's Talk Justice, Live Your Rights show. All right, that's it for this evening. Enjoy it further. Yeah, questions. Why?